So continuing with the commentary for the teachings of Yamantaka. Again, see yourself as being simple Yamantaka, one face, two arms. You're in the palace, although wherever you are watching this, I feel that you're in the palace of Yamantaka, that the Yamantaka, the deity, which is your own special, your own guru that gave you the initiation, is the one that's transmitting the teachings. And of course with the attitude of I'm doing this for the benefit of all sentient beings. There's the commentary from, that there was one practitioner in Tibet that received the initiation of Yamantaka, did a lot of practice, and then became a great demon, so to speak. And it said even if he looked at somebody, he killed them just by the power of his consciousness of his eyes and such. And so he says, oh, this is a possible problem if one practices Yamantaka. And I mean, it would be a problem, if you didn't understand the three bodies. In fact, in the sense that the Dharmakaya is the formless, is the holy mind of the Buddhas. It is the ultimate nature of your consciousness, and that is formless. And so therefore the Dharmakaya is without form, and that is called personal nirvana for the Buddhas. Then the Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya are manifested bodies. They only manifest for compassion. The Buddha, from the Buddha's own side, whether it's a male or a female Buddha, has the ultimate experience, has the personal nirvana, and so therefore the only reason for them to manifest would be out of compassion for sentient beings. And if one understands that clearly, then one avoids the fault of that particular practitioner in Tibet, who I believe they ended up having to do a large exorcism. After he died, actually, he became a very malignant spirit, and then they had to do a lot of exorcisms, or to finally to destroy him, or to send him to another rebirth, so to speak. Okay. Anyway, so we're on page 39 of Ngolchu Dharmabhadra's generation stage of the roar of thunder. So it says, dispatching the preliminary offering. For this, there are two variant assertions. The Segyu practitioners say that when reciting Om Yamaraja, Vajrabharav, an assembly of deities are instantly generated in the space before you, and once you then you offer them the first section of the Dharma, the harmful spirits are given the permission to take the flesh and the blood. J. Shalua's root text says, offer it to the Bhagawan with the king of mantras, to the assembly of yamas with the close essence mantra, after you offer it to the directional lords in the with the essence mantra, offer a portion of food, outer and inner offerings. Thus, with the Yamaraja mantra, make offerings to the Bhagawan, Vajrabharav, and assembly of deities. With the close essence mantra of Yamantaka, offer it to the inner seven lords and guests with the name mantra. Offer it to the 15 directional protectors with the essence mantra, Om Hri Shri, which contains the syllables of the first name of their first names. Thus they assert this quotation as the basis for their argument. Concerning the Ensa hearing lineage, once you bless the Dharma with the Yamaraja mantra, you offer it to the outer and the inner worldly guests. Yet at this point you don't offer the Dharma to the supramundane deity. Our own tradition comes from Kedrup Rinpoche, who quotes Lalita's great sadhana that states, the offering, nectar, and so forth are especially for the peaceful and so forth. The Dharma containing all the meats is given to the terrifying, such as evil spirits. First make the request to the deity, then send everyone off, such as the field protectors. This teaching teaches the preliminary offering. The phrase, the offering reveals presenting the offering of close enjoyment and so forth to the guests of the preliminary offering. The phrase, nectar and so forth, reveals presenting the inner offering. The phrase, especially for the peaceful and so forth, reveals giving it for the sake of entrusting them with special enlightened actions of peace and so forth. The phrase, for Dharma containing all the meats, reveals the substance of the Dharma. The phrase is giving the terrifying, such as evil spirits, reveals the object of such of which they are given. Further, the ocean of the Dakini states, according to the teachings, the preliminary Dharma is for the worldly beings and is offered to the field protectors. Other valid texts of highest Yoga Tantra have explained for making the preliminary Dharma and state that the preliminary Dharma is for the individual worldly beings. Now, I did just a comment on this so that you understand. I mean, sometimes a text is very Tibetan in its structure. So, there's one tradition where you go Om Yamaraja Satamaya, and in this tradition, which is not the one that we practice, then instantly appears Yamantaka in the space before you. You make offering to him. Then with the Yamantaka Hompe mantra, you offer to the inner seven, and with the Hri Shri Vitritanana Hompe mantra, you offer to the 10 directional protectors, and that's one tradition. The second one would be is that you of course create the inner offering, you invite the guests, and when you recite Om Yamaraja Satamaya Yamantarana Yata, that mantra then offers to Yamantaka, but he appears in the space before you individually. Then you do Om Bahujranam Yapatalajaryam Onke Jarya Tabar Vaikinian Kata Chinadiga Humbazim and Vedartiga. That's the Om Yamantaka Hompe, 7 syllables, mixed with inner Yamaraja, Mahakali, Chamundi, peaceful, increasing, influencing, and wrathful yamas. That's the inner group of 7. And then a group of 10 is mixed with the 10 syllables of Om Prisharichitanana Hompe. And that then goes in, and that'll be explained in the text. But in our tradition, in the tradition of Lingam Rinpoche and such, and which would be the most of the practitioners on this particular lineage, that's the one that we would do. Okay, then it says, when it comes to offering the preliminary Dharma to the Mandala deities at this point, it is not explained in any of the texts or by any of the Indian or Tibetan scholars. For those who say it is taught by Lalita, this is a lie. In the phrase, first make the request to the deity for forbearance, we should not entertain any doubts whatsoever that the deity is anything other than the mundane deity. Since there are so many deities included in mundane deities, deity is just a word. Therefore, who could possibly be capable of proving that they are supramundane deities by merely the word to term deity? In both sadhanas of the omniscient J. Tsongkhapa it states, having offered the Dharma to the deity and spirits, concerning this, Lalita states, give it to the terrifying spirits and so forth, and first request the deity for forbearance, which establishes the true meaning for the teaching that the guests of the Dharma are the gods and spirits. The phrase gods and spirits describes the word God as being separate from the spirits. Therefore, it is an extremely grave mistake to maintain that they are supramundane deities, since in this case, in the general secret Tantra and many of the qualified Mandala ritual texts, the words requesting a deity during the preparation state, the deities, worldly protectors and spirits who abide in the teachings of enlightenment. With regards to the first line in the general Tantra, we find the deities who are worldly protectors. Furthermore, concerning these deities who are worldly protectors, they are the 15 directional protectors and so forth. Concerning the spirits from among these, there are others who have entered the path of enlightenment. There are both human and non-human spirits who are virtuous and abide in the Buddha's teachings. The manner for all of their virtuous activities is extensively explained in the great exposition of the secret mantra, and we should learn them in accordance with this text. Here as well, deity refers to the 15 directional protectors, who are the preliminary world protectors. Concerning spirits, these are the assemblies of the surrounding area, where it states the collection of spirits of the 3 worlds who delight in the teachings. Concerning first, in the phrase quoted above that states, first make the request to the deity for forbearance. This means prior to requesting them to depart, request the deity for forbearance is, for instance, that we say through not finding or for not thoroughly confused. Okay, so I'm not quite sure where he's going on this, but the point is that you, well, if I go back to Geshe Nawang Darge's commentary, when you recite Om Yamaraja Satamaya, at that point there's 2 traditions. One is Yamantaka appears suddenly before you, little deities come out of your heart, scoop up the nectar, offer it to Yamantaka, and Yamantaka vomits it back into the offering. In the second tradition is the Yamaraja mantra appears around the edge of the skull cup and falls into it and blesses it. So actually there's no, I made a small error when I said earlier that you offer first to Yamantaka. So in the tradition of Yamantaka appearing and then vomiting it back in your offering, and then you make an offering to the deities. In the second tradition, which is I believe the one that Geshe Nawang Darge and Lingam Rinpoche practice, is Yamaraja mantra falls into the inner offering, blesses it and consecrates it. Then you offer to the inner 7, and then the 10 directional protectors, which is a total of 15 deities, which will be described in a few minutes. Okay, so just to get clarity on that. So, okay, next we request the Dharma guest to depart. For this, we recite, all of you protectors and so forth, please depart. Therefore, Je Rinpoche Sadhana states, you should learn from about this from the teachings. Furthermore, in general, there are 3 types of indirectional protectors. Those who are emanations of Vajradhara, those who are virtuous, and those who are non-virtuous. On this occasion, they are the virtuous guests of the Dharma. Once you understand all of these aspects in this way, there are the 4 sections of dispatching the preliminary offering. Okay, then we're on page 42. The blessing of the inner offering, the blessing of the preliminary offerings, the blessing of the preliminary Dharma, the actual offering of the preliminary Dharma. Blessings of the inner offerings. The basis for accomplishing this is a skull cup filled with alcohol, with the nectar pill placed and so forth. Blessing the inner offering has 4 sections: cleansing, purifying, generating, and blessing. Cleansing. Recite the action mantra, Om Hri Shri Vishri Tanana Hom Pe, while simultaneously emanating limitless wrathful deities identical to yourself as Yamantaka, from either the dark blue hung, the nature of your own mind in bliss and emptiness, in the center of the moon mandala of your heart, the nada and the mantra rosary. They exit through your right nostril and chase away all the harmful interfering spirits from the place of the inner offering and scatter them to the furthest edges of the universe. Like a hawk clearing away baby birds so that they cannot ever return again. The example Geshe Darge said was just like if there's a lot of smaller birds in the air, and then like a sparrow hawk or an eagle flies in, they all scatter because this bird is big and it terrifies them, and so they all run and hide. So in the same manner, when you send out the Yamantakas, in this, now what's interesting is that he says in the text, having a moon cushion in your heart. I don't. I'm not aware of that. I'm aware that Yamantaka should have a sun cushion in his heart. But anyway, again, always different lineages, different little commentaries. Point is, in your heart there is a cushion, so sun or moon. Maybe it'll come up more clearly in the near future. On top of that is a syllable hum, and around that then you'd have the 3 rings of Om Yama Rajasatamaya, Om Hri Shri Vitri, and Om Yamantaka Om Pe is the inner one. And then from the hum and the nada comes out Yamantakas from your nostril. They clear away everything like the hawk or eagle, and then they return into your left nostril and back into your heart. And part of that emanating and sending back is helpful for opening up your heart chakra, by the way. Okay, Concerning the process of emanating forth and withdrawing into the syllable hum, that is the nature of the bliss and emptiness, the external harmful and interfering spirits are accomplished from your own external extremely subtle wind and mind. Therefore, if you destroy the internal afflictive emotions with non-dual bliss and emptiness, what need is there to mention destroying the external harmful and interfering spirits? So that's interesting, actually. Okay, so commentary would be your mind, which is the syllable hum, that's your most subtle mind, and that then is the unification of the bliss and the voidness. If you have some approach to that, then obviously you're starting to purify your most subtle mind of the delusions and the karmic imprints that sort of push you and motivate you. Remember, the 2 primary causes for samsara are your delusions, ignorance, and then attachments and aversions and such, and then the karma from having done those things in the past, which is always pressuring you, pushing you. So when you do purification of your delusions, you remove ignorance, and then you remove attachment and aversion and jealousy and such. Those are coarse levels of delusion based on dualistic mind and other such things, okay? So when you purify that by understanding that the nature of phenomena is empty of any inherent self-existence, and that also you are working for the benefit of all sentient beings, so those 2 things help purify you, then when you move to a more subtle level, you remove even the stain of those from your consciousness. So in his text he says, if you meditate on the internal bliss and voidness as being inseparable from the subtle nature of your mind, then that automatically removes all external interferences. So rather than thinking in such a you might say, superstitious way of that there are negative spirits and they all are being chased away. You just realize that if your own mind removes all negativity, that all the negative spirits are removed. And that would be similar to, for example, when Buddha Shakyamuni was under the Bodhi tree and became enlightened, or was on the process of becoming enlightened. All the maras, all the delusions of the universe gathered around and tried to attack him, to distract him. And as their weapons came close, he turned them into flowers because of his compassion. So in that way, it's said that Buddha Shakyamuni subdued, or overcame all the negative spirits of the universe. But how he did that was by his great compassion. So in the same manner. So anyway, that's just the first part, which is called with the cleansing, Om Hri Shri Vichitana Om Pe. Again, now a small commentary from Geshe Namandarge. Your inner offering that you have, again, make it a little bottle that doesn't leak any fluids, and those little ones that come from, I think, Walmart, or the ones that you get at a hotel when you stay there, little jam jars, are excellent. They're very small and don't cause you any problem. They're under, what is it, the 4 ounces if you fly with your inner offering. Okay, and your inner offering pill, I'm going to read that in the next section, I'm going to take something from Lama Zopa Rinpoche, which is about the inner offering pills. But the point is that you have that. So when you do Om Hri Shri Vichitana Om Pe, you open it and put the lid just to one side, and then you feel that that any negativity that's around it is scared away by sending out the little Yamatakas from your nose. They send them everything away, and then they absorb back in your heart. So that was Om Hri Shri Vichitana Om Pe. And you open your inner offering. And then you're going to do the next part, which is the first is cleansing, and then there's purifying with the Sunyata mantra and such. Anyway, for this session, that concludes it. I'm trying to do it in small sections so that it's easy for you to listen to and to participate with. And so there's no limit as to how many classes there can be, so therefore I think it's easier to do it in short sections. So there we've arrived at the first part of making offerings to the local spirits in the 10 directions. So again, do dedication prayers, may by the activity of being involved in the Yamantaka Tantra, which has the 5 special qualities. May I quickly become enlightened. My enlightenment is only for the benefit of all universal sentient beings.